There are 70 million people in this country with chronic pain, but many of them don't have to be. Recent studies show that some forms of chronic pain are not actually due to physical problems in the body, but rather learned neural pathways in the brain. Neural pathways are made up of thousands of brain cells that are organized for a specific purpose. They help us learn new behaviors and activities. Think of a baby trying to walk for the first time. His little brain has no idea what to do, and he falls. But with practice, his brain learns. Push off, lean slightly forward, keep your balance, step, and repeat. With enough repetition, he develops the neural pathways to know just what to do. We develop neural pathways for everything. When we learn to walk, when we learn to type, when we learn how to ride a bike. And once we develop neural pathways, they're stored into memory. Like they say, you never forget how to ride a bike. And just as the brain can learn and remember activities, the brain can learn and remember pain. Imagine that you're out driving. You pull up to a red light, and as you come to a stop, you hear the sound of screeching brakes. You look in the rearview mirror just in time to see the driver behind you, cell phone in hand, with a look of horror in his eyes. You brace. At the moment of impact, your head jerks back, and you feel a sharp twinge in your neck. The next morning, you wake up with neck pain and stiffness. You've suffered a whiplash injury. For most people, after 4 to 6 weeks, the injury heals and the pain goes away. But for some of us, even though the body has recovered, the pain continues. So how do we explain the persistence of pain even after an injury has healed? This brings us back to neural pathways. When you get injured, the body sends danger signals to the brain, and you develop neural pathways to help process the pain experience. But even after the injury heals, these neural pathways remain and can generate pain. This is how acute injuries can turn into chronic pain, even in instances where the body has fully recovered. You can even develop pain without an initial injury. By way of example, here's one of our favorite stories. A few years ago, there was a construction worker out at a job site who stepped on a nail. The nail went all the way through his boot and out the other side. He was in agony. An ambulance rushed him to the hospital. The doctors rushed him to the ER. They pried the boot off, but the nail had gone right in between his toes. Didn't even cause a scratch. When the brain perceives physical damage to the body, it can generate pain, even in the absence of an actual injury. This is actually more common than you might think. A group of researchers in Germany conducted a placebo car crash study. One by one, individuals were placed in a car and given the impression that they were rear-ended, but there was no actual physical impact to the vehicle. Even though there was no way the participants could have been injured, a month after the study, 10% of them had neck pain that they attributed to the accident. Their brains perceived an injury, which led to pain, but the pain wasn't caused by physical harm. It was generated by neural pathways in the brain. More and more studies are finding that our brains have the capacity to generate physical pain. Pain generated by learned neural pathways is very real and can be very debilitating. But the good news is, just as this pain can be learned, it can be unlearned. And in future videos, we'll show you how.